You are listening to the Backline podcast.
I'm Trey,
This is Tristan.
and you're listening to the Backline podcast.
So I'm back on a sriracha kick now.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Do you know about sriracha?
I love sriracha.
Do you know about how it's not made how it used to be anymore?
What are you talking about?
So sriracha was started from like one farmer, right? And he had, I got milk voice. He had a certain way that he would make sriracha from these plants and whatnot and vinegar and everything. And then it got popular. And at some point in time over the pandemic or at some like somewhere across there, he couldn't keep up, or that farm couldn't keep up with production for like there was a spike in popularity. So now when you buy sriracha, it's most likely just like cayenne peppers and horseradish. It's not actually sriracha.
Isn't there vinegar in
There's
it
vinegar
too?
in there, yeah. But like the point is that sriracha's flavor has changed because they don't do it the same way anymore. And also you usually just get horseradish.
I don't know, man. I like the one I have.
That's fair. No, don't get me wrong. Like it's good. I'm just saying it's not made the same way as it used to be anymore. So like
Fair
people
enough.
were complaining that the flavor changed.
But when was the year that was?
I don't actually know.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe the sriracha that I've been having is
The
been all I've known.
I think horseradish is wasabi, but I'm pretty sure that like
Dude, I love horseradish.
sriracha is made different than it used to be. But also, yeah. What have you been putting on or it on?
So I just ate a spicy chicken fillet and threw some jalapenos in there. Tortilla, made a wrap, right?
Yeah.
So had the spicy chicken, chopped it up, did the sriracha,
Yep.
jalapenos, ranch,
That sounds good.
some shredded mild cheddar, tomatoes,
Going crazy with that mild cheddar.
tomatoes,
Are the jalapenos yours?
jalapenos. No, these are the canned ones.
Do you guys still have a bunch of fucking pickles?
Yeah,
Can I
pile
ha-
of them.
Can I have one?
Yeah,
Okay.
just go up and take your pick. It's like
Okay.
fucking.
I've been thinking about pickles a lot.
It's so
specifically
bad.
the homemade ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, take your pick after this.
Craig sent me home with that mustard.
Did he really?
Yeah, because we got talking when we were there, and he was just like, we were dealing stuff out and whatnot, and I think they took the pizza, and he's just like, "Do you want this mustard?" And I was like, "Will you let me have it?" He's like, "Yeah, I get like free samples."
That mustard was good.
It's good, like it's fucking good mustard. I actually have chicken marinating at home in that mustard.
Dude,
with
it
some
was
other
good.
things,
I
so-
watched him take a piece of summer sausage
Yep.
and then take the mustard and do it. And I'm like, I've never done that, but like without even thinking, I just grab a piece, do it again. I'm
Yep.
like, fuck, yeah.
It's good. I mean, it's good
It was
mustard. Like, yeah, just like this is what we do now.
Yeah.
I saw-
it
you
was
know-
like not, my brain just like, yep, this is it.
This is what we do. I did the same thing with cheese because I saw somebody do it with cheese, and I was like, "Yeah, that's what we do."
Oh, I've seen that with cheese too.
Yeah, it's good. It's good mustard. Like it's sweet, but it's also got that like spicy brown mustard flavor to it as well. It's pretty good.
So we're starting on the podcast talking about sriracha and mustard.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, you know how it would tie into an analogy to what our actual topic is?
No.
Similar to finding your flavor, you find your sound.
Hey.
There you go.
That's it. This was all strategic.
Yeah, it was planned.
So today we're gonna talk about finding your sound, and you never do.
You never do.
You never do.
It's a learning process.
But that's the fun and the beauty in music is it's always something that evolves
Yeah.
with you. In previous podcast episodes, we've talked about how some of our past recordings don't line up with what we do now, but that's a stamp in time. And the same thing goes for finding your sound.
Yeah. It's not only a stamp in time for like tastes, right? Like your actual taste and what you consider your sound and style. It's also skill level and then the level of your gear or whatever your gear is at that time, right? Because like when you're starting, usually if you're not riding on somebody else's bill, you usually have shitty gear and
Yeah.
like cheap mics and whatnot. And you're usually on the start of your learning process and you're just trying shit out. I mean, you can hear it in our demos, our old two mic demos, and
yeah.
whatnot. Like,
With the old carving amp and
Yeah.
a distortion pedal.
dude, and the sound trap I made with the fleece blanket and a chair.
Blankets.
Fuck yeah. You start off, just learning and kind of trying to mimic some sort of a sound. You have very little idea of what you actually want, and you have to kind of do your own amount of experimenting. This is specific to like guitar sound, by the way, that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Drums is way different, but I can get into that. But like with guitar and whatnot, I'm sure you figured it out too as you were going. Like you kind of don't quite know what the low, mids, and highs dials do. You're just kind of figuring it out. It's like, I'll scoop the mids because Metallica did that on a couple of their albums, right?
Sounds like ass live.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, you do that. But this is something that we can tackle a little bit later. But what you find out is kind of there's a different sound that you achieve live, and there's a different sound that you achieve recording. And it doesn't always translate because, like, if you listen to like Pantera, right, their guitar sound with the what is that 5401s or 5101s? What's that thin ass PV amp that everybody used back then?
5150s.
5150s, right? I hate those guitar amps, by the way. They just make the thinnest fucking sound ever. I dislike them. Right? That's my opinion. Right?
I don't know, man.
I know you don't know because you almost bought one.
Just to fact check.
Yeah.
Pantera used solid states. They did not use PV.
It sounds the fucking same to me, right? And that's
I get what you're saying. The fuzzy, over distortion.
Sorry, I know it's coming across as opinionated, but it's a really thin sound, and it translates well in the albums because it cuts the fuck through. Like it's a Pantera song because they have their it's a Pantera song because they have like their sound, But if you just played, like if you picked up a guitar at Guitar Center as a guitar player and you plugged it into an amp and it sounded like that and you were trying to play anything, you would be like, this is the cheapest fucking amp I've ever played, and put it down. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's all about composition.
I do know.
Yeah. But yeah, I digress. Like,
no, all good.
You start off and you're just fucking with shit and you're trying to find a sound, whether you're wanting some that's over distorted or you want, you're Trey Woggy and you're buying pedals that are cheap and they sometimes
Metal
work.
Zone 2 pedals.
Oh my God. I'll let you talk about that.
To me, sound, even finding your tone is bigger than your gear, right?
Yeah.
Like take us, for example. You go back to our Sinner album, that was our sound at the time. It was like an alt rock, sound. And then now you listen to us and it's, we can get into the gear aspects, but to me, it's more than that. When you talk about
you're
tone
above
in
the
a
gear
whole,
right now. Yeah.
It's like it can almost be like your vibe, your atmosphere.
Well, reverb and whatnot is a lot of tone. And like that sets the atmosphere.
But again, it's more than gear.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
it's like I don't know how else to explain
finding your tone is like your brand, right? It's almost like your brand, finding your brand. But because Mile 134, right? When people think of you, what do they think of? Well, your tone, but what are they going to say?
Right.
A huge 2-piece, a thin 2-piece, this and this, and then you break it down from there, and that's when you get to the gear we're using, right?
Right.
So to me, tone is bigger than gear.
It is in that but it's so weird because like when you're starting off, you have to split your brain between two different things, right? Like you're starting off and you're like, how do I want to sound? And then like, what sound do I need to fill is kind of the afterthought. You know what I mean? Like, because if you're live, right? We figured this out pretty quickly. If you're live without a bass player, you need to fill that
sound,
role.
right?
You need to fill that thud. Otherwise, you come across as really fucking thin, and it's pretty shrill. Like it doesn't sound good. You fill that sound, and then all of a sudden your tone's got a lot more lows in it, which muddies up your tone for clarity. Like you don't have as much clarity now. Maybe you want more clarity, but all that stuff comes into play. But like as a guitar player, you kind of have to you have to dumb it down into what you're looking for, right? Like as a drummer, right? For me, I was like, I don't need any high ass toms. I don't need anything that's like,
right.
I just need some cymbals that'll wash. I need some toms that'll thud.
You're just looking to fill space at that point.
Right, but it's not even that. Because like I could have got it in a drum kit. We've played on drum kits that are thin and jazz kits, and it doesn't work for us, right? I knew right away that I needed to fill more thud. I didn't want some tinny ass drum kits and whatnot.
So right, and you did that based on personal preference, probably on what you're listening to.
A lot of what I was listening
to. That's one thing that I would tell bands is
it's a jumbled. They were kind of all over the place.
We're all over the place, but tone it's a big subject. You can talk about gear, you can talk about your live tone, studio, kind of like how you were talking in the beginning. There's different.
Right
like,
away.
Tone to me is like what you're known for, right?
Yeah.
Kind of literally your brand.
Yep.
So now going back to what I was saying, you have to find artists you like and figure out why, right?
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, you want to know what you like about their tone, right?
Maybe they release an album that you hate. Okay, why do you hate it? Why do you like it? So to me, a huge an album that will forever be one of my favorites, if not my favorite, because of the tone, and not only the tone, it's the songwriting, it's the songs. Dirt, Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
The guitars, fucking huge.
Yeah.
The drums, fucking, and then right away I'm like, I want this huge sound, and that's what we try to replicate with a 2-piece band. Is, we like that. We've always been like, we like that oomph. We're willing to give up here to have oomph.
Right.
We've always that's always been a common theme with us is oomph. But
I mean, you're not. You're not.
But you know
You're
what
not
I mean?
wrong.
We've
Yeah, I
always
know.
been searching for oomph because Jesus.
The quest for oomph. That should be the title
Now,
of this episode.
son, go find oomph. You must go on a
You must
12-year
go.
journey to find the oomph. The oomph. Master Sensei, I found the oomph. I'm back.
But you know what I mean? Like every time that we evolve from, going back to your point, see, this all ties together.
It's this huge fucking puzzle.
Right, but when we were, just starting out, I had a Mesa Royal Atlantic, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then your drums, and we're still missing something. Guess what? We were missing the oomph because we wanted it.
You were trying to get it out of that amp.
Yeah,
You
there's
were.
probably other bands that are like, we have the oomph, we need this, we need that. So that's what I would tell bands coming up. If you're trying to find your tone, listen to the bands or releases that you like,
Yeah.
and figure out what you like about it. Because for us, it was, like I said, the oomph, the kind of the guttural sound of a guitar.
Yeah,
right?
you want that low, chuggy, like
The chugs.
with attack,
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of stages to that, and then gear, right? Because like you start off with your basic gear and you try to build towards whatever tone you're going for, Obviously, there's some things you can only achieve with certain gear, but you start to get an idea of what you want. I think there's importance in documenting what you want, or like getting an idea of what you want in like the most basic terms. I said that earlier, but because then what you can do is you can do a little research and decide what you want to build towards. You know what I mean? Like for us, it was upgrading our gear, slapping parts and stuff, or for my drum kit, getting heads that were designed to handle lower tension and can then be, more thuds and whatnot. Or even stuff that doesn't cost money, how to get a drum, like a kick drum, to be tuned low.
Like putting a Snuggie in the drum.
Yeah, exactly. Because any normal kick drum for like a jazz kit or whatnot, there's a little more resonance they want. So it's like a doom, or something like something that's a little bit longer. But for us, all they wanted was a, just something that's like got a heart attack and a lot of like just thud.
Oomph.
Yeah, oomph to it. There we go. And you start to build your idea around that. Like obviously most gear has some customization to it, but like at some point you need to replace a drum head, or you want to upgrade your guitar. You got some spare cash, or you need to put different strings on it, so you throw heavier strings on it,
right?
And you start to drop tune the stuff, and you start to learn
right.
as you go. So you start to build toward. Like I'll let you talk because you're.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So right away, right?
Yeah.
The drop tuning.
Yep.
Again, here's a prime example. I think listening to Slipknot, and I'm like trying to play along to their songs, and oh shit, they're in drop B.
Right.
All of a sudden, I drop tune, set up a guitar for that, played their cover songs, and I'm like, damn, we could write in this tuning because it fits our oomph.
It's
right?
a discovery thing.
You just keep going, and that's. It's just funny how it all comes to fruition.
Yeah.
Because we're always looking for the oomph.
Right.
And then it's like, again, I think it is based on your influences and who you're listening to and what you like, because we were always like, they have this like chunk,
There's
right?
some quality
we want
that we want. Yeah.
So how we like to brand ourselves, because people call us, hard rock, metal,
Garage
new metal,
yeah.
groove metal, all this shit. But I like to call us metal with substance. And to me, that means it's got substance, meaning there's flavor, anything. Oh boy, there's flavor in like the lyrics,
Yeah,
and the groove, people can bang their head. Anybody can bang their head.
Yeah,
to
there's
it.
always a thud to it. That's
And there's
got,
a
like,
right, and there's a substance. It's not this thin. It's fucking dense, right?
Absolutely. Because there's something to be said about somebody who can pull off the thin sound.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we'll like to glance over it, like Ride the Lightning, that album from Metallica.
Yeah.
right. Thin fucking sound. Is
Thin
there
guitars,
Is
yeah.
there bass in that song? Those fucking entire album? I have no idea.
Yeah, that or And Justice for All.
Right. Like, but they pulled off their tone and it worked. I could go into a whole reason on why that worked and the development of speaker systems and and the masses and whatnot. But we'll glance over that because right now we're just talking about tone. I think for you, at some point in time, it became like, I need some more ampage, right?
Yes.
I can't have this.
And then
thin
we
amp
catered
anymore.
everything to it, right? We went and got the 300-watt cab.
Yep.
The heads that were more dense.
Yep.
And then the drop tune guitars, and then you put different heads on your drums and
Right.
all sorts of shit. So.
And tone itself is an opinion. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
There's nothing about tone that is factual. You know, it's all
No.
just you could do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, people could look at our tone and go, that's trash.
Absolutely.
But you know what? We like it because you can feel it in your fucking chest.
yeah,
It's like,
there's something to be said, and that's again live versus like
I don't think our live setup differs much.
it doesn't differ much, but it records differently.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like we have done our best to record like the amount of air your amp pushes, which is that oomph, right?
Yep.
It's just got that whump to it, you know. But you will not be able to replicate that on a recording,
Right.
versus being live and in front of that amp and,
Right.
and feeling it. You know what I mean? And that's part of the tone. You know,
Yeah.
that just comes into play there. I mean, that's the same thing with drums, right? Like I can,
Yeah.
you're never going to record drums that are going to sound the same way as you standing in front of the fucking kid.
You know, you make a good point. So, like, when people say, oh, this artist sounds just like they do when they record
Mm-hmm.
versus live, I think to me that is trying to replicate. It's how good an artist is at replicating
Yeah.
that feel.
Yep.
Because
Absolutely.
you hear, like, we've seen plenty of bands.
Yeah.
And, you know, the biggest thing, again, the thing that sticks out to me is if they've got the same oomph as the albums. So I
Right.
really think, like you said, tone is subjective,
Yeah.
opinionated.
Yep.
But our thing with tone is we like to feel it and oomph. So
Yeah.
again, circling back, I think the biggest thing is identifying what you like. Like, listen to the bands that you like, the releases, and figure out why you like them, other than it being killer music. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you like about how it sounds, right?
Yep.
Because not only is Dirt one of my favorite albums for the oomph,
Yeah.
but also the guitar tone.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. There's some wonderful stuff going on in that
Just
album.
tasty.
And just the mixing and whatnot. But I think it also comes down to, like, how do you want to come across tone-wise, right? Because, like, again, you can write a song and it sounds really good live. And, like, your tone comes across perfectly live. Like, people are taking videos of it and it sounds, like, fucking epic, right? But you go to record that song in the studio, you just can't replicate it.
Right.
Right? But you need to come up with a way of how you can express that without overwhelming the mix. That becomes part of tone as
Yeah.
well. Like, you have to take that into consideration, right? Like, as a band, like, let's say, like, if we're catering this discussion towards like a younger band or somebody who's trying to work towards discovering and building their tone, like, you need to get a really good idea of what you want. Again, like what you said, based
Yeah.
on what you hear, right? But also based on what you produce. So you get on stage and you know your amp makes this sound and it sounds this way. How can we then, like, get that to come across in a mix? If you're doing recording, if you're just a live band, fuck it. You know, you don't have to design your tone over how it's recorded, but that's usually not the case. But alongside that, you know, you just kind of discover what you like and what you don't like. But tone is also always evolving. Like, when you're building tone, you shouldn't just stick to a tone because that's what you've done before. If you've decided to do something different, you should move on and do something different.
100%.
You know what I mean?
And that's a good transition point because, you look at, there's bands like Korn, right?
Oh, fucking Korn.
Their fucking tone. But here's the thing. So their tone, if you listen to...
Their genre changes more than their
Their
tone.
genre changes all the time, but guess what? You still know it's fucking
You do.
Korn
You
because
do.
of their tone.
Yeah.
Right? And then you go to bands like AC/DC who have no change in their tone, but
Nope.
there's still something in that very wide tone spectrum, right?
Yep.
That you
know.
know is AC/DC.
Yep,
So tone
absolutely.
is super subjective, and it's a big, broad circle of shit.
Yep.
Because, because Korn, right? They've changed their tone, but you still know it's Korn.
Yeah.
AC/DC, on the other hand, hasn't changed a fucking thing, but you still know it's AC/DC.
Yeah.
So tone it's a vibe. It's your atmosphere.
Yep.
It's literally your gear and how you sound. I mean, it's so many things.
It's you mentioned gear, and I just had a thought because I was just talking about this. It's like, I'm not ripping on new gear. I'm not. And I'm not ripping on the availability of new gear. But what I want to say is, like, there's a lot of gear out there that's catered to be a one package deal. Like, you can get like a combo amp, you can get all this gear that's just catered towards one sound. You know what I mean? Or there's like I like Line 6 as a brand. I like the idea of being able to model an amp and do all the stuff you want. But I also think that there's key to finding your sound and your tone in just getting gear and mixing and matching it. You know what I mean? Like fucking a boogie head and some other shit underneath it, you know, and whatnot. Or like fucking any shitty ass amper cab with like custom speakers in it. You know what I mean? Like you should play with your gear. You should play with everything, because otherwise all you'll do is you'll fall into like, oh, this amp and cab sound. Like there's only so much you can do with that without customizing it. You know what I mean? And if you get in, this kind of wraps around, if you get an idea of what you want, you can build your gear based on what
towards
you have.
that. Yeah.
Right.
But here's one thing I'm going to say.
You can piece it together, you know.
One thing I'm going to say.
All right.
You can try to replicate the sounds you like, but make it your own. Don't copy, right? Don't copy.
Do it your own way. Don't just like
because like we're a two-piece, right?
Yeah.
So when people think of two-piece, who do they think of right away? The White Stripes.
Right.
Oh, you don't sound like the White Stripes. Well, we're not fucking trying to be. And if we tried to sound like them, it wouldn't be good.
No.
So you make your own thing on it, and that is your tone, your brand. I mean,
I'm sure it's trickier. Like we're a two-piece, so we have a lot of tonal control. I'm sure it's trickier in like larger bands where everybody's got their own stuff going on. But like, I guess the point I was trying to make is don't be afraid to like just mix and match shit. Like there's a reason people buy guitar pedals, you know, like go and buy some fucking weird or like $10 guitar pedal that's clearly going to explode like the first couple of times you use it. But like try it out and see if you like certain things about it or you don't like certain things about it, or try a different guitar. I don't know. Try detuning your guitar. For drummers, I don't know. There's not too much you can change tonally when it comes to drums, but you can tune things up and down and try them out and just kind of discover things.
I mean, it's experimentation.
Like, it's experimentation. Like you can't find tone. Like I think that's something that people don't understand is your gear is not going to make your tone. A gear will make a tone. It will make somebody's tone, but it will not make your tone.
Favorite quote I ever heard from a musician, and by
the one I just said.
Yeah. No, right.
Tristan Waggy saying the one quote I just heard. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, by probably my favorite band, Jerry Cantrell, Alice in Chains, right? He is a tone god. His guitar tone, everybody tries to replicate it, and I watched him in an interview, or maybe I read it in an interview, but whatever. The interviewer asked him, saying, hey, what do you feel about all these people trying to copy your tone and play? He goes, they can copy all my amp settings, but it's my fingers, my flesh and bone on the fretboard.
Yeah.
You can't replicate that.
No.
So there you go.
There's something to be said there too. Like gear doesn't do it for you.
Gear won't do it.
You know, you can fucking, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but fucking playing a drum kit on that $200 fucking pawn shop kit, you know, I made that thing sound the way it did. With a stock shit on it. It was a jazz kit, right? Then I fucked it up. And it's the same thing with your stuff. We were talking about that and how you just like, you'll play covers, but then you have to like decide like, hey, we can play like this by drop tuning and whatnot. And then like, oh, I can write riffs in this tuning and go from there. Like that's your tone. Tone isn't specific to the sound coming out of the amp. It's also what's behind the amp and who's doing it, right? Like I don't consider myself a very technical drummer, right? Like
I'm not technical.
I know, but like the point I'm trying to make is some people are discouraged by seeing people who are very, very good drummers and can like do all the fancy shit and whatnot. But it's not necessarily what matters, right? What matters is like what you can do with the music that you're working with or whatever you're doing. So like this is another biased like perspective because it's a drummer talking about drums, right? But like when I'm writing or I'm trying to write my drum tone, I just do what's natural, right? And like that's my tone. It's just kind of whether it's just following the drum kit, or sorry, not following the drum kit, following the guitar riff, to the T, or maybe some fills here and there that are just like simple, right? I'm never gonna be up there fucking doing any fancy shit or throwing jazz beats in there and whatnot. My tone is basically just following like whatever is going on and just punctuating that and trying to drive the emotion a little bit deeper. Obviously, you'll hear other drummers who will play like a lot fancier. I sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but what I'm trying to say is, as a drummer, you shouldn't be discouraged by your lack of skill. You should be focusing on your tone that you can bring to the mix, in the sense that, like, what are you doing to punctuate certain parts of the song? Like,
and
that's your tone,
dude. And another aspect of tone, and you transitioned perfectly, is
what can I say?
Right,
Mr. Segway over here
is like your writing style.
Yeah.
Right, to me, that's a tone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, how you format your songs and whatnot.
Yep.
That's alongside the tone, because that's how your tone in floating quotes. I know there's no camera. Is being used to make the song.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much that goes into it. Because, like, yeah, I mean, if you compare our earlier stuff, right, you weren't chugging. You were.
Right.
It was more just like groovy, like kind of 90s, just
righty.
like
It was
like it almost like guitar dancey, not like foot dancey, not stuff you can dance to,
right,
but
right.
you're guitar dancing around a little bit. You know what I mean? And as a drummer, I am too. I'm dancing around a little bit because I'm following you and I'm doing that stuff. But then as we progressed, it became
very percussive.
Yeah, it became more, okay, we're looking for our tone. What we were going for is the aforementioned oomph. Yeah, right. And then that became, okay, our style now is more percussive. There's going to be more just like lock-ins, you will say.
So,
it's just like,
so what I think we did, to put it on us, right? We went from the dancey guitar stuff and pretty composed songs to simple songs, with feel and chug.
Yep.
I mean, that's what we did. So,
yeah. No,
but again,
absolutely.
you knew it was us in both cases.
Yeah.
So
No, tone is such an interesting topic. I mean, we're going to talk about it here, but there's so much to cover. There's a lot to talk about.
It's hard to cover.
And
but
it's it's a bias.
The biggest thing, and I'm gonna this was my biggest gripe on the pet peeves episode, right? Be authentic.
Yeah.
Fucking be authentic. Like I said, emulate, take things away from the bands you like, the tone, all that shit, but make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
Make it your own tone. Because I can't tell you how many times we hear, oh, you guys are a two-piece like the White Stripes? No, motherfucker.
Listen to us. Do we sound like the White Stripes?
God damn.
Yeah.
So, be authentic with your tone. Realize tone is bigger than gear.
Yeah.
And then just keep refining it. Like I said, it's always going to evolve. Go listen to Sinner, which was our first release.
Yep.
And then go listen to Red Eye, which is our most recent. Hint, hint, we've got more coming. You didn't hear it from us, but whoa. But then go listen to Red Eye, and you still know it's us, but you can sense the difference in the tone, the vibe,
the craft.
You still know it's us.
Yeah. It's
straight up, you don't have to listen to any of this, right? Because music has no fucking rules.
No, this is our opinion.
This is our opinion.
This is our opinion, man.
This is our opinion. So,
but
that's the great thing about music. There's no rules, but we're just trying to explain kind of our journey on tone, because it's still a thing that we're trying to find.
Yeah.
What we're experimenting with now is slimming down our rig even more.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find, I'll be straight up with you, I'm trying to find a modeler that can bring that oomph that I can take to a gig, right?
That's part of your tone, though, is now you know what you want.
It's that, yeah, exactly. So we have our tone set kind of how we want.
Yeah.
But now it's about making it in a more economical, efficient 30-minute set package.
Yeah, right. I think there's something to be said for, like, experimenting with your own gear and your limited resources, and then, like, as you get older in your career into music, you start to find a way to refine it to a point where it can be portable, right? Like, it's or less of a hassle. You know what I mean? There's something to be said about that. Like, I know I really don't like the emulator rigs and whatnot that are like, you step on it and it sounds a certain way because it sounds really digital.
Well, I like them because they're easy to haul.
I get it. Absolutely. But what I don't like the idea of is some new guitar player finding like the perfect
generic.
The perfect like Metallica guitar riff because somebody built this online and it's just perfect. That's like there's no critical thinking there. It's just oh, this is how Metallica sounds. I'll sound like Metallica. You know,
Yeah,
boom.
yeah,
I play
yeah,
live shows and I
yeah.
sound like Metallica now. And it's just like there has to be something applied there. You really should spend some time just discovering what you like and what you don't like
For
about
sure.
some things. Like there's something to be said about that because I think that also brings like what you said about authenticity and originality. You have to find your craft because art and music is not designed to be something that is like objective, right? There is objective music out there and it bothers me. You can tell when something is not authentic, right? It's like
Oh yeah.
I can tell you've just specifically crafted this guitar tone to sound like somebody else. And we all know it, right?
Uh-huh.
We all know your songs are designed to sound like somebody else, and that's what you're playing off of, right? Your songs sound generic, and that's why they sell, right? But
Plenty of that.
yeah, absolutely. But you know, you can smell that bullshit from a mile away.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like then you'll have these bands, like we've played with some bands. The one I'm thinking of is the ones who dressed like Napoleon Dynamite. Do you remember them?
Oh yeah.
I don't remember their name. I'm
Yep.
so sorry. But they had like a keyboard player and they had these hiked up ass
was
shorts.
badass.
Yeah. But here's the thing. They get on stage and I've never heard a band sound like them before. You know,
It's
and that's
fucking
why
awesome.
they stuck in my head. They didn't sound like anybody.
Ugh.
Yeah, they were pulling off a
It was
Napoleon.
Disc.
Was it Disc? D-I-S?
DISQ. They were fucking awesome.
It was so cool. I don't know what they're doing nowadays. This is so long.
Oh,
it was
they're-
like fucking
they're still kicking
5
ass,
years
I'm
ago.
sure.
But it was cool because like they got on stage and it was just like, they had a get up going on, so it was very goofy to see. But they were fucking rocking it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't metal, you know. It was very much like
alt rocky.
alt rock, you know, neck pickup guitars and whatnot, like that
Yeah.
belty ass tone and whatnot. But they just rocked it, and it
Yeah.
was completely original. There was nothing about that I felt like was a copy. You know, it was just
Yeah,
like,
it was cool.
it was, and that's why they stuck in my head. Like I think about
Dude,
it.
I still.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were awesome.
You know, and if you're trying to emulate too much of somebody else's tone, you will get lost in the fog of the other people doing that too.
Yeah.
You know?
So one note that I want to point out that again, perfect segue
Fuck, what can I say?
is gotta read it. Oh, excuse me. So to me, if you're not fitting in with the current quote unquote wave, you're doing something right. Because they're all gonna sound this, dude. I see it all the time. That was one thing that Uncle Craig told me. He goes, if you're not fitting in, that's a good thing. Keep doing what you're doing, because if you're fitting in, you're behind the. You know, this was back when he was jamming, so the waves were a thing, right? Because Nirvana, quote, they didn't start it, but started a grunge. Started grunge
Essentially,
and then
they were the forefront of it. Right?
and then all these bands tried to follow it, and nothing took off because they're like, you're fucking copying, you're copying. So biggest thing is, if you're doing you and you're being as authentic as shit and you're not fitting in, do not change to fucking follow the crowd. Because I'll tell you what, Tristan's called me out multiple times because we don't really fit in with a lot of the local bands. I'm not gonna lie, because we're not uber heavy and we're also not light rock.
No.
I don't give a fuck what you call us. We just don't fit either one of those. And it's hard sometimes to, like, there's been times where I'm like, dude, we don't sound like anybody. And there was a couple times where I was writing songs and Tristan's like, stop. He's like, you're trying to fit in with so-and-so. You're trying to fit this. And, you know, he's right. You just got to do you and just keep doing it, because, man, it's a copycat fucking game. And that shit, people who copy, you ride a wave for a little bit and then you're fucking done.
Yeah. Authenticity trumps mediocrity.
Oh,
Like,
for
it's
sure.
Just, it,
You know, that comes with the whole, no, we're going back to the pet peeves, but being authentic, right? Do you, don't fucking follow the wave, don't copy anybody. You know, take influence from people, right?
yeah.
But don't change to fucking fit in. That's authentic. That goes back to my authentic point.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, you don't think about it at first when you're young in the career, because you're just like, oh, I want to make music. And
You
I
want
want
to jam.
I want it to sound like this and whatnot, and I can play these covers, and it's just like, that's cool. But like, when do you start becoming a musician? Like, when do you start writing the music that is an expression of you? This falls back on tone, right? It has to be your thing that you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And that, like, you driving the machine is part of your tone, but then so is like the gear that you've built, the sound that you've built, You know, you don't want this machine to drive the same way as like somebody else's. You know, you want it to. I'm really making a poor analogy, but like it starts with you. I have one finger up right now. It starts with you. You know, driving the machine. It then comes down to you building that machine in a way that caters to your style of what you're doing, and then from there, you know, just pursuing that, you know, driving that home
and refining.
Yeah. You know what band comes to mind when it comes to authenticity but being fucking so out there but absolutely killing it is fucking Primus.
Right.
That is one band. There is not a single other band like Primus. Yeah. What the fuck? Like, what a fucking weird collection of individuals. You know what I mean? You have a drummer who is just a fucking fantastic. I'm starting with the drummer, right? We would normally start with the bassist, but the drummer, this dude is a fucking fantastic drummer. The flavor that he adds to those grooves is insane, right? Step number 1. Step number 2, the bassist, also the singer, right? Who the fuck would have told him he's doing something right? If you listen to that, like, if imagine you're seeing a local band and it's fucking Primus, right? People would just be like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? What is he doing? He's slapping that thing around and it's making these weird sounds, you know?
Yeah.
And then you see their art and it's fucking weird, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, if that's like raw authenticity to the point of being almost like indignant about it. You know what I mean?
It's being proud of being out there.
Yeah. But that's like the attitude that you need when you're building your tone.
And like, you know, that goes on a good point though. Like, don't try to be so. Don't separate yourself so far.
No.
To like brag about we don't sound like anybody else and you sound like shit.
Yeah.
Like don't be like that. We're just saying don't follow the crowd, man.
No.
Do your own thing because you stand out more. I can't tell you how many not to get too personal on it, but you know, you go to shows and it's like, okay, that band sound like them. They sound like them.
Yeah.
Oh, we're up now.
Yeah.
You know what I
well,
mean?
it's just like you hear it in the music. It's just like they're clearly Trivium fans. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or
Like if you heard us, what would you say? This
is a biased opinion because we're talking from ourselves,
okay,
right?
People,
Fair enough.
DM us, email us, whatever. But who the fuck do we sound like? Because I still don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like I don't. Here's the thing: is like from inside out, right? Like from an inside out perspective, I don't care that we don't sound like anything else.
Yeah.
Like I don't care if somebody doesn't like us because we don't sound like anything in specific. You know what I mean? Like that's part of our age right now as a band. Is we're just gonna do this because we want to make music that we.
Maturity is a great thing when it comes to being in a band.
Like,
it's like,
but we've been there before where it's like, oh, I don't sound like anybody. They can't. They can't tell me what I sound like. I want to sound like Slipknot. You know? God damn it. You know, and like there comes a point where you're just like, I'm just fucking doing this.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I'm saying. Like at this point in our, I don't know, music careers, journey, whatever you want to call it. It's like you said early on. You know,
you
trying
feel a little bit more. Because you're not as confident. You're just like, oh, man.
We're trying to fit in, and people don't like our shit, and you take it to heart, and you're like, well, what do I need to do different?
Yeah.
And it's like, shut the fuck up, bitch.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's like, it's literally, you know, we're kind of going back. And with our new stuff coming out, it's like we're going back, and we don't give a shit. Like we're taking elements from our whole discography, right? And we're writing this new shit, and it's super authentic. It's not forced. And to be honest, at least me, I don't give a fuck if people like it or not. It's this release is shit that we've written.
Yep.
Maybe has been closeted for a while.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, that still
it's ready
like
to go.
It.
Yeah, let's get it out there.
You know, and so many people are big on, well, what's the theme of your album? Or why does this song sound different than the rest? We don't fucking care.
Yeah.
We're just fucking playing whatever we're right. Obviously, we filter out some songs in the recording process that aren't. We're like,
they just aren't done. It's not a complete picture. Right?
But dude, maturity in music's a great thing because I think you start to realize all this, and you kind of see the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
When you're young, and you're trying to find your tone, and you're going to shows, you're very like, oh, I've got a combo 2x12. Am I going to be loud enough? Because this guy's got a 4x12 half stack.
Am I doing something wrong?
Yeah. What's going on? What?
I didn't do this right.
So it's maturity is a great thing, man.
Yeah.
When it comes to music and when the experience too, right? So
The unfortunate thing is that we can give you as much advice as you could
Oh,
possibly
people got to
handle.
find out.
You got to go and do it.
You got to fucking fail and find out. I shouldn't say fail. You just got to go and.
No, you'll fail. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta suck to not suck.
Yeah.
That's my quote.
Yeah. No, seriously, you do. You have to suck to.
You have to suck.
So that goes on a different topic, right? But
Much like the vacuum, you have to suck.
yeah, you have to go out there and suck. That's how you get better.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing with tone. You got to go out there and just do and figure out what works, what doesn't, right?
There's growing pains. It's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Like it's just there's parts of it where you'll get up on stage and be like, man, that show was fucking terrible. I want to stop, But you got to just do it again.
Yeah.
And it's just
You continue to improve.
It's
yeah.
just like anything. Get back on the fucking horse and try again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's something to be said about people. I'm gonna take a step back here, right? There's something to be said about people. There's some you cannot go into it with the idea that you fucking know everything. Though.
Oh, I hate that.
That's the other thing I wanted to cover with the tone discussion is you don't know everything.
No.
There's some external ideas you have to internalize first. You know what I mean? Like, I know we just talked about being authentic and standing up for like what you believe is in a tone, but there's also something to be said for taking just any, like if you get up on stage and somebody says that your guitar tone could use some work, maybe spend some time, evaluating that, taking a step back and really listening to it without the rose tinted glasses. You want to take
That's
a step
a good
back.
point.
You gotta also internalize like some of the ideas of other people, because you'll see some of these bands that are trying to be the next Primus, they're trying to be the next math metal band. Listen, I enjoy math metal, but there's some math metal that I don't fucking want to do a quadratic equation to figure out where the fuck the downbeat is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or where one is. You know what I mean? You're not gonna be the next Tool writing a 524 meter song. You know what I mean? There's something to be said about that. And like sometimes you got to sit down and be like, what am I actually going for? Am I going for an art form that can only be processed by 5 out of 300 people? Or do I want this to be able to touch people in a way? Like that also comes down to your art form, right? Like, some people are out here to make that and they don't care that people don't listen to it. I've listened to industrial bands that are just like I'm the only person who's going to listen to this song in the next 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, this is the only song that I will ever listen to. And they've done like 300 fucking songs because this is all they do.
Yeah.
And they're doing it. But their goal at that point is not to be a mass listened to thing. They're just doing something.
They know their niche.
Yeah. It's extremely authentic, though. That's the other thing, too. So, again, it depends on your goals. I know I'm kind of being a hypocrite and bringing that to light.
It's this is all stuff that we've gone through. Seriously,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times. Back to your point. You say don't take everybody's comment with a grain of salt. Don't be arrogant and brush it off.
No.
Maybe sometimes analyze it, but also
if you suck, you probably suck.
you need to fucking understand that you don't take advice from the guy who's been drinking since fucking noon
No.
and you're playing at 9:00 and he's like, hey, you
need a bassist.
need a bassist, because I can't tell you how many fucking times we've heard that, and I fucking hate it every time. All I do is look at him and go, oh yeah, yep, uh-huh,
You're right.
you're right.
Yeah.
And then I walk around and tell Tristan, I go, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Listen,
he doesn't know shit.
The only thing he wants to know is that he gave the band advice.
Yeah. Yeah. He'd be the guy that if we ever got a bassist, he'd be like, I should get a cut of the bassist pay because, I made that suggestion, blah, blah.
Then he'd follow the band
And he followed
and
me.
be weird about it.
So, guys, we're just giving you advice. Take it or leave it. But this is what we found. And, in 2025, it will be 10 years as Mile 134 already.
Yeah.
And that's not including whatever we were called before that. So,
Yeah.
this is what we've experienced. And you know what? Maturing is a great thing for tone. It's a great thing for a big kind of overview of music in general. And I don't know. Getting old in the music scene is a cool thing because
At first, it sucks.
at first it sucks, but it's also very cool because you see things for what they are, and you realize what you really want to do
Yeah.
and what you want to sound like after experimenting for a long time. Now, I'm not saying that you can sit there, say you're a band, right? You can't not change anything for 10 years and then,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Say I have all this experience. No, I'm telling you this because we have changed our gear,
nose to the pavement. You know,
we've been very
yeah.
active in adjusting. Man,
It was a pursuit for a long time. So this comes
tone was that carrot in front of the rabbit that we could never grasp.
Yeah.
Right, that was one thing
That's a
we
good
were.
analogy.
Well, that's how it was, man. We were
Yeah.
constantly researching, chasing.
Yep.
So
yeah, no, and I mean, like we tried a bunch of shit.
yeah,
I mean,
and I'm not saying we did everything right.
Nope.
We fucked up bad multiple times.
fucked up.
Right? Go
bad.
listen to Sinner.
That sucks. No.
I'm just saying. So what we did with Sinner is on 8 of the 9 songs we didn't put a bass on the track, right? And I remember a guy listening to it and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is good." And then on the 8th track, we threw bass in, and then he goes, "Why did you do that? Because now I want bass through the whole fucking album."
Yep.
So right, that's a learning curve.
Yep.
And yeah, guys, you just gotta live and learn. You gotta go do and
Fuck around and find out.
literally
That's
fuck
really what
around and find out.
you gotta put effort into learning too.
And don't be arrogant, but also don't take everybody's criticism to heart.
There's a balance there. I don't know what the balance is.
So called a bullshit filter.
The bullshit filter. That's fair, but there's a balance to your like personal. I don't know if there's a better term, but like there's a certain amount of narcissism needed for you to stand up for what you believe in.
I don't even think it's narcissism, right? I think it's self-awareness of
like what your art is,
right.
and that's what we started with.
That's tone, right?
Yeah,
you
that's
gotta
what the
know
tone
what
is.
Oh.
It's all full circle.
It comes full circle.
Dude, holy shit.
So you got to know what you're after.
Yep.
And of course, if you're going for, let's say you're going for a chunk, right? And some guy comes up and goes, "Hey, you should add a little more highs in there." That's when you look at the guy and go, "Okay." And then you turn around and walk away and go, "Fuck him," because you're not going for the highs. You're going for a chunk, right? Now, if you're playing, if you're going for chunk and your chunk is not chunk enough, it's not to that oomph level.
Yeah.
And some guy says, "Hey, try to back off your treble," right? I'm just throwing shit out there.
Yeah.
Back off your treble, add some oomph on the oomph knob in the back of the amp,
right,
and see what that does. That's when you go, "Oh shit, maybe I'll try that."
And then it works.
Because it's in line with your vision, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you just got to critically think about what's going on and then fucking build from there.
Yes, sir.
It's
authentic. Just stay authentic.
Yeah.
And if you want to hear my rant about authenticity, go to our pet peeves episode. Because, yeah. All right.
I
think that's our podcast.
All right. It was very opinionated.
Very opinionated. But
that's
you know
okay.
what? We're just here doing what we do. We don't care.
You and your opinions.
Yeah. Take them and shove it.
Tell you where to put your opinions.
Now, go find the oomph.
Yeah, you must go find the oomph.
I'm Trey.
This is Tristan.
Peace out.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Backline podcast.